This is PhDamn. I am in a relationship with my PhD. There's something magic happening when the three of us start talking. PhDamn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to PhDamn, the podcast for damned PhD students, those who wish to become damned PhD students, and those who are disabled. I wanted to say something more fun, but it weren't coming to me.
No,
Like, at all.
I was just processing while you were talking, and I was like, "What you gonna say?"
Yeah, I was like, ugh.
disabled PhDs.
Mental health check?
Mental health check. Pragya, go first.
Yes.
Yeah, we're doing an audio episode, everyone, because Pragya is still in India. And as you have seen, our last video episodes had different technical issues, so we just went back to audio. And when Pragya comes next month, we'll see how we move on.
Yes, because
Yeah.
it was giving like phone in like 2010. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I clarify something?
What?
That the Wi-Fi services of the university is worse than my Wi-Fi in my house
In
Yes.
India.
In-
yes.
in a third world country. I mean, well, I don't know. They should definitely do something about their, I don't know, connection.
Yeah, it was so bad.
It was really bad.
Okay, Pragya, go. How are you doing?
Okay.
Give us the updates.
I am actually really good.
Wow.
And that's because yes. Surprise. I'm kidding. No, so it was my birthday this month, and I sort of gifted myself a month's break from fieldwork.
Oh, that's
It
nice.
Wow.
I think also it was the tipping point of like I just couldn't do anything anymore. It was really, really, really hot where I was doing my fieldwork. That is Calcutta, and yeah, I think I just hit the roof, and like I just felt like I couldn't do anything anymore. Like I couldn't go physically take an interview or even like come back home and just transcribe or something. Nothing. Like I couldn't do nothing. So I just decided that July is going to be a month where I stop the field work for an entire month and just I mean, I didn't take a complete break. I still had to do other stuff, and that was a lot of admin. I went to Bangladesh, and that was a lot of work too. I came back home, and even right now, I'm doing this weird writing workshop thing. Not weird. I mean, it's fine, but yeah, it's taking up so much of my time. But I think I have been really, really happy this month because I've done it at my own pace, and I've been able to not think about the PhD for most of the time. So yeah, so I've been so much better, and I'm going back to fieldwork next week. And that's my last month, and I'm really, really nervous. A lot of emotions are going on, but I'm trying to just enjoy these last few days, and yeah, and I'll be back.
Why are you nervous?
Oh, because it's the last month, and don't have a second go at this. So this is the last month where I have to decide if there's anything else that I want to do, if I want to take any more interviews, if I've collected all kinds of textual materials that I wanted to analyze. Have I talked to everybody? Also, I was working with an organization, so I want to make sure that to wrap that up with them in a good, I don't know, spirit and all of those things. So it's been, I'm a bit nervous. A lot of obviously emotional stuff too. And then and next month is going to be really, really emotional because I am going to leave in September, and I've really, really enjoyed the last 10 months being around people from my country and eating lots of good food. So it's going to be an emotional roller coaster, a PhD roller coaster, all kinds of roller coaster.
But you're
And
also excited to
have,
see us.
yes, I am so fucking excited. Like, I really, really want to also acknowledge that I've been missing my life in the UK, some very important bits of it, which is like, just hanging out with my friends very regularly, which I like barely do here. This is the only month that I've been able to do that constantly, I guess. But I've just missed that. I've missed like going to barbecues and like dressing up beautifully. You can't really dress up well here because it's so fucking hot. I'm really excited to be in the UK too, which is something that you will never hear of again from anybody else, I guess.
Oh, we should talk about that actually.
Wow, wow.
More in depth. Maybe like the dichotomy of like being from somewhere else and like, like missing home, but also missing here, but not
Yeah,
necessarily here as in like the UK,
Sheffield,
but just like
the
the
people,
connections you make and the community that you build and the
I feel like exactly like that. I'm so homesick.
like always missing out on one side basically. Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's even for you in London.
Yeah.
Like
I'm going
even
back
when
soon.
when you're in London, then you're still in the UK, but you don't get whatever you get when you're in Sheffield, right?
Right.
And when you're in Sheffield, you're not close to your family or your friends or
Right.
other things that are happening.
Right.
Yeah. But I just wanted to say that I think something you brought up that just kind of hit me was this idea of doing your PhD on your own pace. And that you've been still working. It's not like you've been doing nothing for this last month, but you're doing it on your own pace. That is the way that we should do like that's the way that we should do our PhDs, because it's very unhealthy to be switched on 24/7 and have to think about this thing all the time and have to produce so many things all the time. Like, we are human beings. Like, even if you're doing a job, you're not turned on all the time, and you're doing it like, okay, you have deadlines, we have deadlines, that works, and we keep our deadlines and whatever, but we need to work in our own pace so we don't burn out, which I feel like we all do. Yes. I guess I'll say what, Pragya? Sorry.
I said, who wanted to go next?
I think I'll go next because I'm talking already, so I might as well. So I'm really weird. I think I'm kind of burned out, but in a really weird way, because like I had a small injury, like when was that, like a month or more ago, like a month and a half maybe. I basically fractured my ankle, which then led me to be sitting on the sofa for a really long time and not being able to walk at all, which I think is a very isolating thing. Yeah. Because it's like, it's really hard for you to go anywhere. You need help to do anything. And then you're trying to work because it's not always easy to get a leave, or you can't always do that. And then I'm just on my sofa like 24 hours a day trying to work from the sofa. And then I feel like a lot of things that I had to get done, I didn't get done on time because of this. And now I'm going to Spain next week. So like the last 2-3 weeks, I'm just doing so many things all the time, and I think that I'm losing my mind. I'm really stressed about it. I have weird dreams about it, and I just need to get these things done and go on holidays, because if I had more than 1 week left of doing stuff, I definitely, like, after that I'd be like, I cannot do anything else. I feel like I'm like on the verge of being like, I cannot open my laptop or read anything because I'll lose my mind. And I feel like that's how a lot of people feel right now. It's a pre-holidays thing. Yeah. And we don't really get holidays in the same way that other students or people at work get holidays. Right. So, yeah.
We need to have an episode on that too.
On holidays?
No. On doing work. We're being treated like a student.
Yeah. We really need to do that.
We really need to do that.
Yeah, I think it goes with the infantilization one.
Yes.
Yes.
Because it's It's everywhere.
That's not the next episode, because the next episode should be something a bit more happy, because Pragya will be here in person.
True.
But after that, we're doing infantilization / staff-student relationships.
Okay.
Yep, Marisa, go on.
Okay, so you said, you're on that verge of, I'm gonna hate everything to do with work.
I'm gonna collapse. Yeah,
I am there. I am there. So, I have been burnt out since November, and I have finally, I guess, come to that realization properly in what month are we in July.
Took you some time. I think I'm there too. I'm like a step before you. Like, I still haven't come to the realization that I'm like collapsing, but I am there, like somewhere, like a step before you. Yeah,
exactly. So that's where I am. I have been burnt out for a long time. I'm taking a month off for August, and I will likely take another month off for September. So like, the month off for August is just leave, and then the month after would be a leave of absence. So like, that's the whole process. For those who don't do a PhD thing, sabbatical. And I just do not want anything to do with my PhD right now. I am very apathetic towards my PhD. It's gotten to a point where, like sometimes, like for me, for instance, if I do an interview with people, or if I go meet people like just out when I'm doing like field work and stuff, and they talk about like my topic, well, they talk about blood cancer and how it affects people and all that stuff, it makes me usually feel more excited for my project and like regain passion for it. I'm like not there now. Now that's like I cannot stress enough how much I do not want to do my project right now. So yeah, I'm very over it. I'm very over everyone associated with it. And I'm just so that's just where I am now. So I'm just happy to be taking a break and not thinking about my PhD. I'm currently, process-wise, in the middle of like wrapping everything up, so by the time I do come back, I can just pick things back up again and like run with it. But outside of that, I don't want to hear the word PhD anymore. I'll probably go home for a bit. I am going on holiday in a couple months too.
Nice.
So
where are you going?
Dominican Republic.
Ooh, nice. That sounds exciting.
I'm just excited to not be doing this. Like everything to do with this, I'm excited to not be doing. So yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like stressed and burnt out, but I feel like excited to not have to do this anymore. And yeah.
Can I say something?
Yeah, Pragya.
Since the time we've started talking, like since the start of this episode, I feel like I felt that in both of your voices. Like both of you sound like your energies sort of communicate so much about how you both are. I didn't want to say it before because I was like, oh, maybe I'm like overthinking it, or maybe whatever. But yeah, I just want to say that it's very like, it's both also sound very, very like different. And I'm sure that a lot of the burn out feeling has sort of seeped in through like how your voices sound and everything. So
and I think it's not just us. Like when you come back, you'll notice the same thing in like most of everyone in our friend group.
Really?
Yeah, and it's been like sad, like not sad times, I don't know how to say this, but I feel like everyone is completely burned out with their own stuff. And I think that also makes us like take a little bit of distance between each other, because we're like, I have to deal with my own shit. I don't want to put all of my like feelings and problems on my friends, because they're also dealing on their own shit. And I think it has been a bit like that. And the only people that really meet that often the last months are the people that just work in the same physical office, because they are in the same department. But I think everyone has been a bit like that, and everyone needs holidays and a break.
Yes, it's true. We haven't seen each other much.
No,
like,
we haven't. Yeah. And I think, Pragya, I miss you a lot, because you're like my most emotionally available friend. Like, I don't know how to describe this. Marisa, I love you. But I don't mean to call you and start crying to you, because I know
Yeah, I would be there like,
you like tap me on the back and be like, oh, it's going to be okay.
because I want you to leave.
Basically. And it's that thing that all of our friends are in this point. So even if I'm like, I want to like be with someone and rant, I know that everyone has the same thing. So I feel like it's gonna be a cry fest. Like it's not good for anyone, kind of, but also I think it's a little bit isolating.
I understand.
Oh, absolutely. And I just feel so like I don't know what the way out of this is. Like, how do we? Yeah, I don't know how to. Because you're absolutely right. Maybe some people would think that I'm going through so much. Why would you put more on me? But like I'm sure, like if I don't know, there should be some way to sort of like take care of each other, even though it's so fucking difficult now. Like it's Oh,
I
this
think
is
it's
so
that,
sad.
but
It's so
also
sad.
we all need to do mandatory therapy or something. Not mandatory,
Yeah.
but it should be like really easy. Like it should be the point of you call someone or something, or you press a button and you have access to therapy if you need it, especially if you're doing such like emotionally and like mentally demanding work, like in the
Yeah.
university. There's no reason that it's so hard to get any access to mental health services.
The reason is that I think academics take on this whole mentality of suffering is good. They might not say that necessarily. They might say all the right things, but I think generally, especially the more senior academics, I think they're so used to the suffering now that it's like they see it as like a rite of passage. So it's like, why would you seek help?
Yeah.
Like this is supposed to be hard. A PhD is supposed to be hard. People always talk about how hard it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's like you're going to boot camp or something.
Right.
Like they're training you to go to war. I don't know what the hell is wrong with people.
And then like when you see even stuff like on social media and stuff, like when someone shows a way that they've made their PhD easier for them, you see people in their comments like so angry about it, and you're just like, what? Like it's just a weird mentality that some people have. But yeah.
Oh my god, this is gonna be a heavy episode.
It is. Okay, we should move on.
No, I want to say one thing. I think
Okay.
McCall was right.
Who?
I think we should also have like non-PhD friends, because I
Yes.
feel like I have also. I mean, now that you're saying it, maybe now I feel it, that maybe we have also become distanced in the way that I don't discuss how terrible PhD has been, because we are not seeing each other every day, and I'm seeing all the people around me who none of them are doing PhDs, and they have their own problems, obviously, but like it's very different, like those conversations, than probably the ones that we had before. Like so I just think that me
I don't.
I honestly just want someone to come and tell me about their boyfriend, girlfriend drama, or like
I'll tell you.
gossip, or like please, like I don't know, I just want something that doesn't have to do anything with this fucking university.
I don't know. I'm like a bit of both, because I
Yes.
like to. I think I'm in my anger phase of my PhD, if I'm honest, as well. So I like to be able to soundboard the anger
It's
that
like
I'm
the
feeling.
stages of grief or
Right.
something.
And I'm in my anger phase, and so I like to soundboard that. And I feel like sometimes with certain friends, at least, maybe not all of them, but a lot of friends, there's a whole explaining what even a PhD is. Not saying, oh, this is a PhD, but just like the part of my PhD that I'm in. Like if I go to you, Lara, I don't have to explain certain things to you. You just know what it is. Whereas with my friends, there is a whole, okay, let me explain where I am now. And then I feel like I have to spend more time validating how I feel, because they don't know what a PhD entails. And this is, that burns me out as well. Whereas like at the same time, I do like to talk to them about just like bullshit, but like my PhD stuff, no, definitely not.
I think because I have been for 5 years in the UK now, and I'm like a really bad person at responding messages and calling people and like keeping in touch with people. I have sort of also isolated myself from a lot of the friendships that I have back home. I mean, I still have some friends, especially some people that are always going to be my friends like my whole life, right? They're more like my family. And I know that they're always there, but as you said, they don't really get it.
Yeah.
In the one sense they don't really get it, but also I'm not that good at keeping up with
That
people,
too.
right? I'm really bad at it. Like I'm so bad. Like sometimes I take just like a month to answer someone's message because it overwhelms me just thinking about answering a message.
And then they respond, and then you have to answer that one too.
Yeah, and I'm just losing my mind with it. So I'm really bad at that. So I think I'm in a point now that it's me, my friends in Sheffield that are all PhD friends, because like whom else would I be friends with?
Yeah.
And then and my husband that is also friends with all my PhD friends.
Yeah, he's basically a PhD friend.
Yeah, it's like he's doing a PhD with all of us at the same time. So I don't really have anyone like except like my sister or whatever outside that I talk to frequently, and it's really weird.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, this is gonna be so dense and heavy.
Okay, let's go on to the next
Yes.
thing. This might have to be a 2-episode thing. Maybe we should like do 2. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So this episode is... Wait, who's doing this? Sorry, Pragya, you're doing this.
Yes. Yeah. So, what are we talking about today? This is such a weird jump, though. Like now,
Is
my
it
energy
really?
is
For me,
Because
it isn't.
I think it's so
Whatever.
related.
It's related, but that's because you haven't heard the things that I have to say. So that's probably why you think it's a jump.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, what are we talking about today? Yeah, we are talking about disability today. I just want to clear this from beforehand to our listeners. I don't identify myself as a disabled person, but Marisa and Lara do. Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We'll
And that's
see.
what we're talking about, I guess.
Yeah, that's good, and that's what we're going to talk about today, and it's we're gonna modify a little bit of how we talk about. So maybe I would ask some of the questions, and or maybe like provide some talking points, some of the things that I am very unsure about when it comes to disability and talking about disability, and then Marisa and Nara are going to share their experiences on being a PhD student and having some form of disability, and what does it mean to sort of like seek for medical care or any other sort of care or consideration from the university and beyond in the UK. Was that good? I don't
Yeah, that was
Yeah, that was
perfect.
good.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanna begin probably by talking about my own, like, not issue, but how I have come through different sort of understandings of disability.
Sure.
I think I started sort of understanding and becoming more exposed to disability and its literature only when I sort of started working in feminist organizations. Even before that, when I was doing like sociology and doing feminist courses, I never came across, readings or like a proper segment where people would talk about disability or teach us about disability actively, even though it's a very, very significant sort of an inequality that must be talked about. So yeah, so my sort of introduction to all of that was maybe towards the end of masters, and when I started working in this feminist organization. But I think my understanding was still very flawed back then, because when I sort of started working, the entire conversations that we were having on disability in that organization was very semantics based. So, for example, oh, you should not we should not call a disabled person, but a person with disability. And then at one point, someone in the organization also said that even non-disabled people are should be called as temporarily disabled, as in like at any point, someone can have a disability, which I still don't know how I feel about it, but yeah, a lot of those conversations were happening on the level of semantics, and so my entire idea of disability was also limited to that. I think it only changed when I sort of this sounds really problematic though, but when I started having disabled friends, um, and it's and they were also like, their disabilities were more visible and more, people would acknowledge it and all of those things, which has its own sort of exclusivity to it. So yeah, so I think I've been very I have also been very flawed in my understanding, in my exposure, in my talking, in my even in my thinking about disability. And I'm just, yeah, I'm just still learning. And I know that both Lara and Marissa have gone through and are still going through a lot, with respect to their disabilities, or the sort of the lack of institutional care that is there in the university. um so maybe we should just, like, yeah, do any of you have, like, do any of you want to start talking about your experience? Maybe, I
I
don't know,
think
Marissa,
it's
or
also a question to ask, what is the disability? And I don't
Yeah.
think I can answer this per se, but
that, yeah.
like it's a really complicated topic of what where is the line of what do I consider maybe being sick or being having a mental health condition, and when does it become disabling?
For me, like, a disability has always been a societal thing. It's always been a social construct, right? In the sense that, like, I think we medicalize it a lot as a people. But disability just means you are unable to do something, usually because
Yeah.
of society in some way or form. So, like, you can be, like, I guess what people understand as permanently disabled. So, I don't know, a mental impairment, a physical impairment, or whatever, that I guess stops you from doing a thing. Like, you cannot climb stairs and everything is stairs and there's no lift access or whatever. That makes you disabled, right? But then there's also temporary disability, in which, like, what you have right now, Lara, where you've just fractured your ankle.
Yes.
There's only so much you can do, but that's gonna heal itself at some point. Then there's situational disability, where, like, for instance, the station outside my house in London does not have lifts, and I usually carry huge suitcases, and I have to carry those up the stairs, and I can walk up the stairs, but it's now made it very, very difficult for me to go up the stairs, and that's because of the situation that I'm in, not because I have a disability. Do you know what I mean? Like, a physical one. So it's like you can have different types in that sense. And I guess that's why also we have a bad relationship with the term disability, because it is about society disabling you. And I think, I'll introduce that I have ADHD and you have
Chronic migraine.
Right. And it's like, in my life, yes, it can, like, hinder certain aspects of my life, but it can also make certain aspects of my life better in some senses. However, in certain situations, or like the university environment, I feel like it is disabling, and it's because of the way, like, the PhD goes and stuff, which I guess we can talk in a little bit more.
Like, coming from someone that English is not their native language, I think I had to overcome this massive, I think we'll talk about that more, like, when I talk about my experience, but I had to overcome this massive, like, barrier of even being able to consider myself like that I might be disabled, because I think in Cyprus and in Greek, the words that we use and the language that we use, and it's about semantics, as you said before, Pragya, but I think it's also important. It doesn't, it like the connection between being disabled and the society being what disables you is not that evident within the language that we use. It's more of like, you're a person with special needs,
right,
or whatever, special abilities. I don't know why we say that, but we it changed from needs to abilities, right? Like you're some sort of superhero or something. It's really weird, but also it's like the only people that we talk about as being disabled would be a person that is like on a wheelchair, or a blind person, or someone like that, right? So it was really hard to, like, when my doctor first introduced that I might want to like access the services that the university gives. I was like, wait, do you mean I'm disabled? And then she was like, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
And she was like, it might be better in some years when you figure out how to manage your condition with medication or whatever. It doesn't mean that you are for your whole life. But right now, this medical condition that you have is disabling in that you cannot live your everyday life normally. And I don't think in my case it's that much about societal things.
Right.
So I think that also depends on how you see it, but I'm not sure that
I think the reason why I say society
yeah.
though is like, if you think about something like glasses,
yes,
technically in like, I don't know, maybe 1582, we probably would have been considered visually impaired because we can't
I'm like
see.
literally almost, not literally, but I'm like almost blind.
Like if I have my glasses off, please, like I cannot see. So, but we have glasses, we have contact lenses, and they're so easily accessible in this time that like, it's like, you could never call this a disability. And it's that distinction. I think that's like what I'm saying. So it's like, with your migraines, for instance, if there was like accommodations that the university or just life had, where it wasn't as capitalist as it was, for instance, or like, you know, there were ways for you to be able to navigate having those migraines, and the migraines are not going to stop, but like the society somewhat accommodates how that looks for you, so it doesn't feel so bad. I think that's what I mean by like,
should we give some context about our
we should
stories,
do that.
because we're just talking very vaguely, I think, and people are like, what are you even talking about?
You can go.
But can I just say
Yes.
one thing? Because we had, I think we just sort of like established this binary between like semantics and like society, and sort of like, and I think they're both like so interdependent, because like Lara, when I said that when I was working in that feminist organization, most of the conversations were semantics on disability. I say that because there was so much importance given to what a disabled person should be called, but when it came to like, you know, I had a friend, like a colleague, who had like chronic back pain, and she had asked a better chair from the manager, and she was refused. And you know, she used to have like later on she had to get a surgery for her back. But what I'm saying is that so much of it, like we were writing articles about like all of these disabilities and everything, but when it came to our own office, the manager didn't make that change. And I was just very like, you know, you just can't limit yourself to just, you know, thinking about, oh, what are we going to call this person, but also you have to make some sort of changes, like real life sort of changes.
I feel like you just explained
Yeah.
academia,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Like
so sad, but
Palestine,
yes.
racism, misogyny, like everything. Like it's like, oh, let's all write about it, and then when it actually happens in our real lives, let's pretend it doesn't exist.
Yeah, we just turn around. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
interesting.
Sorry for that. Yeah. So, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, some context. So, I've had migraines, but not chronic migraines, since I was like basically a child or a preteen kind of. And they've always been there. They always come back. I don't even think that until I don't know when I was a teenager, maybe in my late teens, anyone even told me that I had a migraine and not like a normal headache. So it was also in Cyprus, it's quite a thing. Like for a child, you go to the doctor and you tell them you have a headache, and then I actually got a response once that was like, you can't be having headaches at this age. If you're having these bad headaches as you describe, it means you have a brain tumor and you will die.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to say this, but this was literally my uncle that is a doctor. So imagine what I got from other doctors that were not even my family members, okay? So this was kind of the thing, and it was just something that always happened. Like once in a while I had a migraine, and okay, I don't know. In the last, I don't know, maybe 3 years, maybe even a bit more, but in the last 3 years, this has become like increasingly worse and worse, to the fact that I have been having migraines like in the past years, like definitely more than half of the month more have a migraine. And the migraine is not just a headache, but it comes with a lot of other like things. So you have pain usually in one side of your head, but you might be dizzy, you get vertigo, you get auras. That means you see things that are like I was gonna say you see things that are not there, not ghosts, but you see like things floating,
like floaters, yeah.
floaters and like lines in the sky and in the whatever. I can't even talk. You can't talk properly or think or concentrate. You get really fatigued, and it's really different from person to person. So there is like a million different symptoms, and it depends on how these symptoms manifest on you, right? And it's a genetic condition that is neurological. So there is not really a reason that you're having migraines, but your body thinks that something is happening. It gets triggered by something, and it's like, okay, something is happening. We need to send pain to this person. So it's a neurological condition, and it really doesn't have a way to get rid of it. It's just there, and probably your kids will have it. So magnificent. So okay, first is something to say that like, okay, this is something that you'll have for your whole life. You can find ways to manage it, but maybe you won't be able to, and it's always going to be there. So that's a start of like, this is something that I'm carrying with me, right? And then as it was becoming worse and worse, I went to the doctor. I went through a lot of different GPs. Terrible, like, I mean, love the NHS and all, but like very terrible experiences with a lot of GPs, not really understanding the gravity of the situation and how much pain I was into, like on my daily life, until I found an amazing GP in the university GP, and since then I haven't seen a different one. And she supported me through going to different medication and getting basically what is called preventative medication that you get every night. Take it every night. So you don't get a migraine. It's reducing the migraines before they come, rather than only taking medication when you have the migraine, right? So I have a set of pills that I take every night, and then I have another set of pills that we call a cocktail that I take the moment that I get a migraine.
Right.
And I do get these preventative pills. I have changed a million of them. I've tried them in different doses because they also make you really sleepy and stuff like that. So there's other things coming with them. And now I'm at a point that it's better. Like, I'm not having that many migraines, but I still have migraines really, really often. And I know that every time, I think I've said this before on the podcast, every time I do something, I know that afterwards I will have a migraine.
Yeah, you did say this.
Like, I'm going to a conference or even a lecture, or I have like a workshop that is like for 3 hours. I know that after I go home, I will have a migraine. So it's like, even I go out with my friends, I know that afterwards I will have a migraine. And these are the things that I love doing while doing a PhD. Like, I love being with people and being able to share my research, but I know that those things that are happening, they will make me feel worse afterwards. So it's always like a balance of, do I really want to go to this thing while I know that I will be unwell after? Or will I just stay home and regret not going? Or if I go, will I be really bad? So it's like always this kind of thing, and it's sort of isolating in that sense. So yeah, this was happening, and then one time I went to the doctor and I was really unwell, and I was telling her that basically I had a migraine every day of the month. And she was like, are you really stressed? They always ask this because it is sort of also related with stress and anxiety, and for a lot of people with other mental health conditions as well. And I was like, I'm always stressed. There is not a single day of my life that I'm not stressed. So stress is my default. So I don't know what you mean when you ask me, are you stressed right now? Like, I'm always stressed. I don't know what you're talking about. And this is not okay. And then we started discussing, and she was like, have you thought about trying to get some support from the DDSS? So your supervisors and your department can be more aware of your issues, and you can get a leave if you need it, etc., etc. And I was like, no, I have never thought about that. And then she basically herself talked to me about it. She made an application that went through to the university. But that's sort of when I first had this conversation of, am I disabled? Like, I freaked out because I was like, I never considered that I was disabled. Like, it didn't even pass my mind. Even that someone that like reads some disability related things as part of research, or is like interested in the issue in general, I never considered myself that. So it was very strange.
You asked us, I remember. You were like,
yeah,
am I disabled? Like, can I say that? Like,
yeah, because
correct?
That was the title of the episode.
Oh, damn.
Damn, are we disabled?
Yeah.
No. But like, yeah, I was like, what? I needed like time to process the information. And then I was like, okay, if it was for someone else, if this was not you, but this was a third person, right, sitting there, and they told you that more than half of the days of the year they're feeling so unwell that they cannot like look at their computer screen or read anything. And every time they go out of their house, because of the lights or the sounds or whatever, they get overstimulated and they get a migraine. What would you tell them? And I would probably be like, yeah, you need help.
Yeah.
like you are disabled. And I was like, why is it so hard to say that about myself? I don't know what the answer is to that. But since then, I'm like, I'm not gonna go around and tell people, I'm disabled, with whatever, yes, this and that. But I think I became more aware from it, and I also became more like, I really don't care talking about it if I need to. So I'll tell people in the university, in my department, or whatever, that this is something that is happening. Be aware of it, right? Because I think a problem with me is that I portray that I'm on top of everything and I'm in control of everything. So no one ever thinks that I have things going on. So I found out that even my supervisors that know me, maybe on a bit more of a personal level, if I don't personally tell them, there is things are not going as they should, or I'm struggling or whatever, they will never understand it. So I need to be like crystal clear with this thing. I need to go around and talk about it, so people listen to me. And then I also fractured my ankle, which is, as we said, like a very temporary thing. But like for a good 2 months, I literally can't walk. So yeah, it adds up.
Yeah, you spoke about how that further isolates you. Because now you're stuck on the sofa.
Yeah.
And for those who have never been to Lara's house, which is most of our listeners, it's very inaccessible. Even Pragya is very inaccessible.
Yeah, there's stairs everywhere.
So many stairs.
I just wanted to clarify for the listeners that the SS is basically wait, I forgot. Disability and Dyslexia Support Service.
Yeah.
Which is a body in the university that tries to provide services and support to disabled and dyslexic students, as it is in the name. But yeah, and we can talk about your individual experiences actually, with the body too, and how helpful have they been. But yeah, Marisa, do you want to talk about your experience?
Yeah. So as I said, I have ADHD. I feel like I recognized it when I came to Sheffield. I didn't recognize it before that. That's because like my mom has ADHD, right? And like she has ADHD. Like when I look at my mom and I look at me, we're very similar people. But the way she has ADHD and the way it manifests, I've always coached her through it. So I always thought, okay, I can't be that person. You know what I mean? And then I think it was like just before the start of the PhD, when we had to do our master's like dissertation and everything, I was sitting there, and because again, as I said, my mom had it and I only realized she had it quite recently too, I started making the connections of you're doing a lot of these things. And I have a friend actually also called Lara, shout out to Lara.
Hey Lara, I really want to meet you, by the way.
Who also has ADHD, and they were talking about like we every now and again we talk about how we work, and it was like whatever. And then one day I was like, oh, we're so similar. No, one day I tweeted something actually because someone was talking about time blindness and ADHD, and I was like, this is so me, blah 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 blah. And Lara was like, I have ADHD, so, and we talk about so much how we work the same, so you probably have it too. And I was like, huh? So that's when I was like, okay, it kind of got everything in motion. And I think I was like 27 or 28, I can't remember. When I realized I went to the GP, it took 8 months from there to get an assessment.
And I was such a big part of it, like too big.
Yeah.
Pragya gave me my like my
referral or reference,
like
or
a reference. I don't know what it is, but like they ask for someone who knows you to like say stuff about you, basically. But yeah, then I got diagnosed, and I'm now 6 months into another 8-month waiting list for medication.
Oh my god!
Because there's like a global shortage of the medication I originally said I wanted to be on, and now I've changed. So I don't know. Let's see if it happens faster. Probably not.
Yeah.
I just want to try medication to see how I feel, because everyone I know who has ADHD and has had medication is like, it's such a mind fuck to have only one thought in your mind at one time. And I was like, oh, like, yeah, like it's an empty mind. So I'm very excited to see what that feels like. I think I'll be like freaked out, to be honest. But yeah,
Like, honestly, is there people that have only one thought in their mind? Like, is that even possible?
it's like he's like everyone's like, your brain will be empty. Like there'll be not no talking. Obviously, you'll talk to yourself, but like it's just
it would be structured to talking.
Yes, and I can't imagine having a structured brain.
Can I make a very small parenthesis?
Yes.
So I don't have diagnosed ADHD, but when all these migraine things were going like a lot, I one day ended up in the hospital. And I talked with a GP at the hospital, right? I saw this GP after, like, I went through A&E and then they sent me to this GP or whatever for a different issue. And he looked at my medical, like, history or whatever. And he was like, okay, you have migraines, you have asthma, you have IBS. He just listed a lot of things that I have all together because my body is like a drama queen.
Yes.
Like the moment something goes like a little bit sideways, my body reacts in all the different ways. Like all my organs stop working like properly. And he was like, I think that all of these conditions are related, and there is a lot of research that says that if you have all of these conditions together, probably you have ADHD and OCD together, and that worsens all of your conditions because you get overstimulated.
Interesting.
I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah. And then they were like, you should probably get diagnosed. And then while getting diagnosed for the migraine, the chronic thing, because that's another thing, I did that. And then I was like, I really don't want to, even if I get diagnosed with having ADHD, what is it going to do? Because I'm already like considered disabled in the papers or whatever. Like, what is it gonna give me? So I never did it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but I do think I have a lot of the symptoms. But in a different way as you.
My paramour, my partner, my love, my person, I don't know what the word is. I'm still
your significant other.
My significant other has said, okay, loves the podcast, by the way.
Yeah. Hi.
But they were like, does everyone in this podcast have ADHD?
That is important.
So maybe. Anyway, sorry, Praga, your question.
Well, I feel I feel FOMO. That's all I will say. The other thing I was gonna say before you've just given me like so much news. Anyway, was that because Lara was saying, I don't know whether an ADHD diagnosis would help. And I think I don't know, Marissa, you can also chip in, I guess. But one of my friends, when they got diagnosed, they said that they really felt like some relief because they were trying to make sense of their behavior all their life, and then people would really be mean to them or for not being I don't know, quote unquote conventional. And they would they really felt like the diagnosis helped them I don't know, come to terms with themselves or something, they said. So yeah, I don't know if that is something that might help you, Lara. I don't know, Marissa, did you feel like that when you got diagnosed?
I think journey to diagnosis was hard for me because I was very, up until the doctor diagnosed me, I was still very like, do I have it? Do I not have it? Because ADHD is really hard to explain to someone who I guess doesn't have it, but it is very normal behaviors that everyone has, just a lot. Right? So I think, and I spent a lot of my time, because obviously I was like almost 30 by the time I was diagnosed. I spent the majority of my life either masking it or like unmasking it from other people, but also myself, and also internalizing a lot of the stuff, because things like, never being punctual, being considered lazy, always being like, I guess, a chaotic person in certain ways. Those are just things that you can just say you are, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a whole like neurological thing happening. Do you know what I mean? So I think for me, with the diagnosis came a validation that yes, I experience these things, and yes, it's hard, and yes, I do need help for it,
And it's not my fault.
and it's not my fault.
Yeah.
So I guess for me that is partly why I also got diagnosed as well, and because the PhD kept getting a bit harder each time, I needed that help. However, you're not the first person like Lara who has said I don't need a diagnosis. Like it's not going to change their life in any way. So it's like
I get it though. I should probably like do it for the same reason that you're talking about. But like, yeah, isn't that why so many women get diagnosed later in life? It's just because women have ADHD so much differently than men.
Right.
They present it in different symptoms, and we learn how to mask it. This and a lot of other things, like because that's what expected from a woman. Like, rightly, it's different symptoms, and you treat them differently. You whatever. So there's so many women that get diagnosed later. And I think another thing is that because ADHD is so talked about right now in social media, and like suddenly everyone has ADHD, and people are like, oh my god, okay, you have ADHD with all of the other millions on TikTok or whatever. So there's that judgment there too.
There is.
I think if it was for another person, I would do it, but because it has to do with myself, I don't do it. This is my biggest problem.
I don't really care personally about like what other people have to say about it, especially like culturally. It's just a very different experience, and it's so like what other people have to say about it, usually they're kind of misinformed on what it is and probably don't know a person with ADHD, or probably even have it themselves and haven't come to terms with that. I don't know. But in terms of like how it manifests in my PhD, I guess for me, it just generally makes tasks more overwhelming. So like my fieldwork year has probably been, well, out of the 2 years has been the worst year for me, because like deadlines aren't a thing anymore as much, because you know you're just doing stuff. You're doing a lot of the tasks you have to do are on other people's whims. Like I have to find participants who would want to talk to me and then do things on their timelines, and but then there's other moving parts as well. Like I've got 3 phases to my project that are all happening like concurrently. And it just becomes like, I don't see it as like all the small detailed tasks that that make up the giant output that I need. I see it as like one giant task that I find it really hard in my mind to break down. Then also it makes me like a lot more impulsive. So things like taking on projects, because you know we all do extracurriculars, like little side projects for our PhD. I do so many. Like, if I listed them now, there's probably at least 10. And I'm like, I like do them because impulsively I want to do them. Like, they're really fun and they look good. And I'm saying yes. And I know I don't have the time for them. And I'm just like, I will find the time for them. Yes, I have time. Which leads me to my next one, which is time blindness, which is a very big thing. I always say I'm going to take a certain amount of time to do a task. And I forget that I burn out quickly, for instance. So I'm probably going to need way more days to just even think about doing the task, like let alone doing the task itself. So it's like all of that. And I think I've spoken about this before on the podcast too, things like doing my work at the tail end, like as the deadline is coming. I'm that person. Like, give me 2 hours before a deadline and I'll write you 3,000 words. I can't do it 2 weeks before the deadline. And that's just who I am. Like, and I've tried as well. It's not even a thing where I'm like, oh no, I'm trying to make excuses. I have tried to do work before, like way before a deadline. I can't. I need pressure.
Do you think that your extra projects that you're taking on, do you think you're doing, I might be projecting a bit, but do you think that you're doing that so you still feel productive when you're not doing your PhD thing? So you want to do things, but you really don't want to tackle this massive thing that is your PhD. So you find a lot of other things that are cool and much smaller and easier to handle and manage to do.
There's a lot of also procrastination involved. Like that whole like just diverting my attention onto other things, especially
it's productive procrastination,
right? And it probably led me to not realize how burnt out I was very earlier. And it's also that I should have mentioned as well. Like I think ADHD plays a huge role in my leave of absence. Uh, it makes you burn out so much faster, and I need time. Like I need the time off. And we'll get into the DDSS stuff soon. But the DDSS is the reason I can take a leave of absence quite easily. And so I'm just kind of exercising that right now. And I feel like everyone should do that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Leave of absence are really demonized, I guess.
They are.
In academia, everyone sees it as like some form of failure. Will you come back? Will you like, oh my God, you've rocked a boat? And it's like, everyone calm down. Life happens. And everyone can always accept that PhDs are very, very hard. And if you do have some form of disability, it can be even harder. Why would you not take time off? Like, I don't understand.
I mean, even if you don't, people need holidays and need time off.
Just
to just like
be zen.
Yeah, be zen, disassociate from research. Like, it's so mentally taxing. It's like so much.
We can all acknowledge that it's a very difficult endeavor. So if your supervisors are giving you problems about leave of absence, just be like,
just ignore them. Not ignore them, but be like, this is my right. I should take leave.
They're not the ones that are doing the PhD. They're advising you.
I think that's what kind of pushed me to actually be part of the applying the DDSS, because I think I have talked about this before, but at some point my migraines were that bad that I took a leave of absence of 1 month full. That was December, last December. And it was a massive thing to get the bloody leave of absence approved, because I needed to go to the doctor, and the doctor needed to sign a paper, and then I needed to send that paper to my supervisors, who needed to sign another paper. Then I needed to send that paper to my department that needed to get everything signed, send it back to my supervisors, get it signed again, and then that goes to the faculty, and that took longer than my leave of absence. Literally, my leave of absence was approved after I finished my leave of absence, a week after I came back from leave, and it was still not approved. And then when the doctor talked to me about the DDSS, she said that one of the best things that they do, especially for PGRs, is that you can get a leave of absence approved without the doctor steps, right?
Yes.
So you don't need a paper that says you are sick, so you need a month off. You can go through with it with your supervisors directly and just cut the whole doctor thing out of the way, which takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I was like, cool, but what else? So I think the DDSS is really strange for PhD students, because for an undergrad that has exams or has classes and lectures, right? They will do things like, okay, maybe depending on what condition you have, but maybe they give you more time for your exams, or they allow you to use some software or something that will help you read in your exams, or you can record all of your lectures or take them online, or things like that, right? That are completely not applicable to us. So it was like, okay, what is the DDSS gonna do for me?
Yeah.
As a PGR. And they also send you this letter that they send to your department that has to outline all of the things.
Learning support.
Yeah, your learning support plan. That is how your disability affects your learning experience, and what your department or your supervisors can do to support you with learning or finishing your degree, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that looks really different for a PGR than for someone who does a taught course. And it's very vague. It's you have the symptoms and you might need support. People, please be aware of this person that has these symptoms and help them.
So are we talking about the DDSS?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Before we get into it, Pragya, do you have anything you want to say? If not, it's fine.
Not particularly, but one thing that really stood out, I feel like a lot of the times, not just in academia, but I've seen it people beyond academia do this. Who was it who mentioned that someone saying that someone determining whether your disability is a disability or not? I think either of you said that, and I think this happens all the time. People compare potential, each other's potentials, and if someone is, say, they are able to work for 8 hours straight, they expect the other person to also work 8 hours straight.
Yeah.
It's that so many things can happen, including having a disability. and I think that is something that, like, it's such a and it happens like I've seen this across like sectors
Mm-hmm.
where our bosses have been like, oh, what, I'm working overtime, why can't you work overtime?
Mm-hmm.
And you would just like, just want to, probably you're badly paid and you want to just go home, you might have a disability. There's so many things that can go wrong, but like, yeah, I just wanted to say that you know just that sort of an expectation is just, yeah, people, I think there's like, for me, university as a whole, and also in general, society is like so uncaring in general.
Mm-hmm.
And like so many of the problems of disabilities, or so many disabilities, I don't know if this is like a blanket statement, but like so many disabilities would not be a disability if just people would just like chilled for a bit and like
Mm-hmm.
cared for each other
Yeah.
and like been like, I totally understand that maybe you are just having a bad day. That's it. Just
Mm-hmm.
go home. Like, that's something that people sort of, yeah, they just want to take all the labor that can be taken from you and just like squeeze you out of everything
Mm-hmm.
that you have. You sometimes disabilities are produced. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if I at least I feel that if you're putting someone under such difficult working conditions, yeah, they're bound to have some sort of repercussions to it, and it might just well be a disability. So yeah, so sorry I went on a
Mm-hmm.
rant, but uh, yeah, so maybe either of you can start talking about how your experiences were with the DDSS. I was also wondering if the DDSS is the only sort of disability related body, or whether there are other spaces like these which might not be very institutionalized, but like might be spaces of negotiation, and whether either of you have explored any of that.
We can talk about.
Melissa, do
Sorry,
you
was that
want to?
like a
No,
bad
no.
question?
It was, but okay, there's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Okay.
I honestly, okay, I'll talk about my experience with the DDSS. I'll preface it though with saying,
Did you go to the DDSS right away, or did you think that, oh, that I can like have a conversation, say, with my supervisors, and this can be easily solved, or
oh
maybe I
no,
can have a conversation with the department and then like this can be solved, or did you directly go to the DDSS?
oh, I went directly at this had nothing to do with anything to do with anyone. I
I,
just
I think
Right.
I had a chat with my supervisors about it beforehand
oh
because I had to
really
take the leave. And I had to take the big leave before the DDSS, right?
right.
Then I went to the DDSS because of that leave experience.
I was gonna say my experience
Mm-hmm.
is probably it's interesting because I think it's more privileged than yours, purely because it's for ADHD, which I think is such a big thing. Like I think if you've got dyslexia, ADHD, or autism,
Mm-hmm.
the DDSS works quite well in your favor because those are like the big three.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like they know how to deal with that
Mm-hmm.
because so many people have it, one of them,
Yeah.
or both, or
Yeah,
multiple.
yeah.
So like, whereas not to say nobody has chronic migraines, but if they do, they probably have a very similar understanding of them as you do. Like I never sat and thought, oh, will I be eligible for disability stuff and blah blah blah. Because even though I don't necessarily consider myself disabled, because I don't know, I feel like sometimes it takes the legitimacy away from people who have like strong. Well, I don't know if I
Yeah,
could
I
call it
feel the
strong, but
same
you know what I
way.
mean.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like,
Disability is
am I even like, not do I deserve to say that I'm disabled, but
right.
deserve is not the right word, but like there's people that like have like proper,
Like disabilities, like
yes,
yeah.
like
So
see,
and you feel
even
like I'm
us that
not
we
on
are
par
so
with those
yeah,
people.
even us we're like so critical about like the
Mm-hmm.
language and whatever, but we still don't feel like
Yeah, I can't all the
yeah,
way identify
yes,
with it,
no.
but I also don't all the way identify with able-bodied. I'm just there. So,
Mm-hmm.
but having said that, I never questioned that when going to the disability support services because I have something that everyone knows impacts learning. Like you know that from a young age.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I feel like, I don't know, there's that not having to explain myself even to myself as much as you do.
That's also like when I was thinking, I don't think I knew what ADHD was before, like I was 20 something. Like I never heard of it. Like it's not something that we talk about. No.
I knew what it was, but I thought of it as like little white boys trashing the classroom.
Yeah, like
school.
I get that. Yeah, but I never, like, I don't think it's talked about in other countries as much as it's talked about here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can imagine that. I guess, yeah. So my experience with the DDSS. Sorry, I forgot that's where I was.
ADHD.
It was, I honestly went to them out of intrigue because I was thinking, how could they help me? I'm a PGR. Like you said, being a postgraduate researcher is very different from being any taught student. You have whole different days. You're basically staff. So it's like, and when I'm at work, I wouldn't imagine how that would look, right? So I just went out of intrigue just to see what they would give me. And it was honestly really good. Like, it was really streamlined. I had a meeting with, what is she, Zara, the disability support
Yeah, she's
person?
Whatever, a DDSS person from the university.
Yeah, like you have an appointment with
I had the same, by the way. Also really good experience.
Right.
Yeah.
And you sit for, I don't know how long it was, like an hour, and we just like talked about all the different ways in which it like manifested my PhD. And she wrote that all down. Said she would do a learning support plan. She did that really quickly within like 2 days or something, and let me like review it. I will say the learning support plan was bare bones.
Yeah, it's like nothing.
There's literally nothing in there that is practically helpful, like tangibly helpful.
What do you mean? Like tell us more. Like,
so normally for a student, like for a taught student, they would have like a number of things that they recommend, right? Because it's very straightforward. But because doing research, as Marisa said, is like very much up to your research project and how it affects you. It's more of you need to be careful of this, right? Like, this is what the symptoms, and these symptoms affect this PGR in this way, so we need to find ways to accommodate them. But it doesn't say these other ways, like it doesn't have a list. And another thing that I'm going to say, something that she told me that was really interesting, is that it's basically like, it's not exactly a legal document, but it's seen like that. If you have a learning support plan in your department that says that you have a disability, they cannot not help you. They have to help you. They have to support you and accommodate you and give you leaves if you need them. So it's more of, rather than being like a bunch of recommendations, it's more of, it needs to be there. So if you need support, you are like eligible for it, and no one can tell you no. That's kind of the gist of it for me.
And it's like, I'm on mine now. I'll probably share it on the Instagram. We'll see, maybe. I don't know. But like, if I look at it, it has like a heading called disability impact, and that is quite long. Then it has support recommended, and that is so short. So it's like, it tells you what it is, but it doesn't tell anyone how to deal with it.
Can you give us an example?
So for instance, disability impact says, Marissa reported being unable to motivate herself to start tasks even when she wants to do so. She finds she frequently loses focus and is easily distracted by other tasks or activities or noises around her, right? That's one of the sentences. Then in support recommended, it just says, email Marissa ASAP to provide information about support within the department. And then it says, Marissa is eligible to use the university's yellow sticker scheme. Like, what is that? Like,
it's very vague.
And then it says, discuss the Viva support arrangements with Marissa well in advance.
Yeah, that's what mine says too.
But it's like, okay, like, but what about the Viva? Like, whereas if I was a taught student and I had an exam to do, they would say she needs to sit in an opposite room, she needs to have a PC, she needs to have 15 minutes extra time, or like, you know, they would add stuff that makes tangible sense that someone can work with.
I just looked at mine and it literally says the same things as yours.
Right.
Like, literally, I have it in front of me. It says the same things as yours.
Right. It's not.
It's like a standard form that is more about to be there, to be like, okay, like,
it's there.
It's there, or take care of this person, like, pay attention.
Right.
Support them, but there's not really a way of how to do that.
And then it got sent to my department. I guess my supervisors acknowledged it.
Mine didn't.
They just said, "Oh, we got the thing." It's just that basically. And then like the actual people within the department, like we have like your disability support person within the department.
Mm-hmm.
They sent an email, just basically saying if you need extra exam time, then this, and if
Then
you
you're
want
like,
this for your
bitch, I don't do
classes.
exams.
Right. I was like, what does this have to do with me? Like all the things they listed had nothing to do with me, and I was just like, okay, so you didn't even recognize that this is a PGR. Like you've done nothing, basically.
You just send me the same email that you sent to everyone, that you
Right.
get a learning support panel. By the way, I got no email again.
Oh, okay.
Like
That's
I got nothing. So I don't know what's better, but like, okay.
But what was really good, so forget the learning support plan and all of that, what was really, really good for me was they helped me apply for disability support disability is that what it
Support
is?
allowance, yes.
Yeah,
DSA.
DSA. Sorry, there's so many acronyms, but that's what it is, and it's a government thing. You can apply for that at any point during your higher education, so undergrad, masters, PhD. How you apply for it differs based on who funds you for your PhD. If you fund yourself, you just do it through like the student loan system basically that we do. You can just apply through DSA on the government website or whatever. But because we're funded by research councils, they did it for us. The disability support, the DDSS people, they did it for us, which made things so much easier.
Yeah, we basically had to do nothing. We had another
Literally.
meeting, like similarly to the other meeting that we had with a different lady.
Yeah.
That again, we went through all of the things, and they went through different things that they recommend for us.
Yes.
That includes like a lot of different software that you can use on your computer.
I have mine written down.
You have yours written down, cool, because I don't remember mine.
So many things.
So there is software was the first thing. Do you want to talk about which software you got?
Okay, so
I think
many.
we got the same, but yeah.
One called TalkType. So
Same.
it's a dictation software that also integrates with like screenshots and other apps. And I can't remember the coolness of it, but they were showing it to me and I was like, ooh, this
it
looks
looks
nice.
cool. You basically talk
Yeah.
to the computer and it types whatever you say. That's talk type. That's it.
But then it also does it with like other things as well.
Yeah, and it can also read things. No.
Yeah.
Or is that a different one?
I think so. And then also if somebody else is talking in a speech and you want to like attach links to a specific part of what they've said.
So the idea is that all
can.
of this software is supposed to help you make your experience of being a student or whatever just easier. So you get a little bit of the stress out, right?
MindView, it's a mind mapping tool that you can also cite stuff in, and you can also do visual planning, and it can generate everything that you've done into a Word document. So even if it's mind mapped and stuff, it's supposed to be generated into a coherent Word document, so you can actually have all your like sexy visual things and quite easily make it something that is tangible for, I guess, your supervisors
That cannot read diagrams.
Okay. I'll tell you about that after program. Anyway, so another one was called Scholarly. So software that gives you a snapshot of research papers so that you can skim them quite quickly.
That's quite cool.
Yeah.
Like I'd recommend everyone that does research to have that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
All of
universities
these-
should give you all of these softwares.
all of these are available for everyone.
But
the
you
only
need to
difference is
pay.
these are paid for
Yeah.
by the university. Another one was called Glean, which is a note-taking tool. I can't remember what that was for.
It's cool. So it records like the lecture and you can have the slides in it as well at the same time and take notes. Or like you can just have a lot of different sources of material all together.
Right, that's the one where you
Yeah.
can get a transcript
I
and
think
then
so,
put
yeah.
things by each part of the
Yeah.
transcript. Okay. Then Boost was an app for scheduling. Text Help is a software to read speech, highlight text, and read and convert PDFs. So for me, I was talking about how it takes me a really long time to read papers, like ages. It could take me literal days to read one paper. So they were talking about like turning it. So this is a tool that basically turns it into an audiobook.
Yeah. I love this one the most. I think it's the most simple one, but I love it so much.
Right.
Because I also get a lot of symptoms when I look at the screen for a long time. So for me,
Right.
when they were talking about the software, it was about how can we make your time looking at the screen less and less, right? So like you don't need to look at the screen. See,
Yeah. Multiple things. So that's all the softwares that I got. On this
Did you get
section.
anything else?
No. Yes, so many other things, but
Really?
Okay, not so.
Okay, what did you get?
A specialist mentor.
Okay.
That person, I've met up with her a couple times. So all this software and that I haven't received yet. There was a whole technicality, and they thought they'd sent it to me, but they hadn't. So yeah.
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh, yeah.
That wasn't the disability support service. It's one of the third parties that actually does
Yeah,
it.
it's quite bad, the
Yeah.
third party.
But I got a specialist mentor that is also paid for, and we meet about once a week. We've met 2 or 3 times now.
Oh, wow, I didn't get that.
I really like her.
Okay.
I think she said she has ADHD too. And I kind of use her as a soundboard, so sometimes to complain about things. So it's kind of like a therapist in a way.
Yeah.
But also I use her to just like talk about ideas and stuff as well. Not about my project, but just about dealing with certain relationships. The thing I complained to you about the other day, I complained to her about it too, and she was talking about like how to navigate it and like what's important to me.
That's really cool, and I think that relates with what you said before. You got that because there is ADHD specialists within the services, right? Because it's one of the big 3. But it's just like, what am I going to do with someone that has like a chronic pain condition? Like, like yeah,
it's different. That's That's why I feel like that privilege comes in. I'm supposed to have a study skills tutor, but I don't really want them. I think they do stupid things like teach me how to make a PowerPoint, and I'm like,
yeah, I'm 30 years old. Like, let me be.
But yeah, the mentor has been a really good one so far. She's helped me. I've decided I'm gonna like do a whole, this is my ADHD and this is how it manifests sort of presentation thing to my supervisors.
Okay.
And she sent me resources for it because she's done those that training for supervisors before. So
you should do it for all the supervisors in your department, not just yours.
It's true.
Because it might help other people that have ADHD.
It's true. But they should have gone to the training. But
yeah, yes, they should have gone to the training. That's true. You are not supposed to give your supervisors training. Yeah, that's another big thing. Like, I don't think our supervisors care about the training that the university gives them.
And then the other like more tangible hardware things, I've got our monitor, a printer/scanner, a laptop stand, and a keyboard, and that's it.
Okay, so I already had a monitor, keyboard, and laptop stand. So I had bought that for myself when my migraine started getting really bad. So I invested some money, and if I hadn't got there, I would have gotten it for free. But I did it now anyway because they were like, "Do you have those things because you need them?" And I was like, "I have them." But I did get a printer scanner. And another big thing that I got that Marisa didn't get it's taxi fares, which means that I have a number of taxi fares within the week that basically I can use a taxi only from the university building to my house and vice versa. And they deduct the amount that I would pay if I would use public transport, and they give me the rest of the money. So it basically costs me the same as it would cost me to take public transport. And the idea is that I shouldn't feel like I'm not going into university to like work or to attend a lecture or something like that because I'm afraid that I might get a migraine, then it will be really hard for me to go home, because that has happened to me before. It's also one of the big reasons that I moved houses, because my other house was really inaccessible with public transport. So every time I left from home, it was like a whole thing of how I will get home, and taxis are really expensive. And it's like the physical condition of being really dizzy and having really bad pain and needing to walk is not a good thing. Like, it was really bad sometimes. So they did that as a point of like, yeah, you can go in when you need to go in and not be afraid that you won't be able to go back home. And I think it has been helpful, but mostly because my foot is fractured, so I can't walk. So I'm not sure how much I'll use it after I can walk properly. Like, I think I'll still use it sometimes, but I don't want to just go up and down with taxis. Like, I think it's a bit wasteful in general. But I understand that sometimes, like, I really need it. Like, there is times that I'm just like somewhere in a lecture, I'm just like, I will faint right now. Like, I need to just go home. I need to be home the next minute because I'll either faint or start throwing up somewhere. So that's the moment that you're not afraid. You don't need to think about, like, I don't know, £8 that you'll pay for the taxi. Yeah. You just call it and go in and you're home in like 10 minutes, right? I think that's the thing about it. That's the reason that they gave it to me, because I think they saw that it had like some physical consequences, if that makes sense. Yeah. Rather than, I think I think the problem with you here where ADHD is a disadvantage is because there's so many of people that have ADHD within the DDSS. If they gave one of them a taxi fares, they'd have to pay taxi fares for everyone, which they obviously don't want to do because there's so many people.
Yeah, which I'm so upset about.
Yeah, it's really upsetting.
I would like a taxi. I am a taxi person, and that is actually due to my ADHD because I'm always fucking late. So I'm like, oh, I just have to get a taxi now, and it's like, it would be very nice if I had that. I have been late to participant interviews, so, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, that, and one thing actually that kind of really has annoyed me is my laptop is very old. It is 9 years old. The other day I was in the office and it, in 10 minutes, like 10-20 minutes, it restarted itself 3 times just to do it. It's like so old and so slow, and they're giving me all this software, and I have told them my laptop is very old and very slow. Sometimes I can't even do Google Meet on my laptop because I'm worried that it's just going to shut itself down.
Okay.
And they were like trying to find software that could fit on my laptop as opposed to just giving me one. Like, if you're going to give me all this software that's going to take up so much memory, give me a new one. Like, I don't understand.
What really like annoys me is that they actually do give laptops, but to like engineering students and like people who work in the sciences.
Yep.
And like when people have like, I'm not saying that they don't have problems, but I'm just saying that I would definitely prioritize someone's disability problem and definitely, you know, also cater to a person who needs a laptop rather than for whom a laptop would just be an added assistance, I guess. Do you know what I mean? Like,
something that I
don't
asked for and they wouldn't give me, and I found it very interesting how they reasoned it, is that there is specialist glasses that are for people that have migraines or other things that have to, because it has to do a lot with light. So light is very bad for me. So if I come into the university and there is like the white big lights, I don't know how they call them, but it's just like if I look into the light, I have a migraine. So it's a thing. They obviously not gonna change the whole university's lights because I have migraines. They should, because white light is really bad in general. Like that really white direct light is really bad for everyone's eyes. So they should change the lights. But that's a different conversation. So they wouldn't do that. So I was like, there is a specialist glasses that you can wear. They basically but mine would have to be prescription, but they have a specific lens that is colored, like
photosensitive.
It's like a yellow or pink lens. There's different types that helps the strain on your eyes from really bright lights and from the computer, right? And it's like a specialist like reflective lens that normal, like you cannot get that lens just like from Specsavers or whatever, like from a normal optician, right? It's like a specified glass that you need to order. And they were like, no, I'm sorry, we cannot give you that because whatever they are giving you has to be related directly with your student experience. So they were like, if you were not a student in the university but you still have your condition, you still might need these glasses for your everyday life. So they are not related exclusively to your student like life. And I was like, that's not true, because I wouldn't be looking at a screen for like 10 hours a day or having to walk into the university. Like, I don't know, I kind of get it, but they were like, well, we are not giving you the money because like you'd still need them if.
But that's also strange because you exist with those migraines as a person.
Yes.
It's not compartmentalized.
Yeah, and I cannot divide my student self from my.
It's yourself.
Yeah, it's myself. So they are so arbitrary where they draw this line. And those glasses are not even that expensive. Like other things that they gave is like probably the same money as the printer. Like I'd rather have the printer, I'd rather have the glasses and not have the printer.
But then also the logic doesn't make sense because then the printer is something you could also use in your everyday life. I intend to use it for my vintage parcels.
Yes.
Does that mean I shouldn't have a printer? Like, do you know what I mean?
What? Yeah, also they are so stupid because also with the taxes, right? Like one time I asked, because you need to send them your receipts and then they give you the money, whatever, it's a whole process. And I was like, I had a taxi from my home to the university. And then when I went back, I went from the university, not directly to my house, but to like 4 streets before my house because I had to stop. I had to get something from a shop or whatever, and then I would walk home like for 3 minutes, right? And they wouldn't give me the money because it was not to my home, so I didn't use the taxi to leave from my studies to go to my home. Like, they're really specific. And I was like, what's the point? Like, I'm still a student. I was in the university. I went home, obviously. I have a life. I'm allowed to go to a shop and grab something. And I was like, what's the deal with them? Like, it's a little bit strange of where they put the line. But I'm going to say that my overall experience is very helpful. And anyone that I talked with, they're really nice people.
Yes.
They're very supporting and understanding. They're not judgy. Like, I really don't like to be judged. Like, not criticized about my work. That's a different thing. But I don't like to be judged about this sort of things. I really hate it. And I found that everyone was very understanding and supportive in general. But yeah, they do have, it's within this system that has very specific rules, and they can't like really swerve to the sides of those rules. But that's how everything works. Yes. Unfortunately. Or fortunately, who knows?
Pragya asked the question of like things outside of the university. There are things. There's not outside of the university, but outside of things. I guess the DDSS does do a group as well. For neurodivergent people, again, that's where another privilege comes in. And everyone sits there and they talk, and there's like neurodivergent staff members come in and talk about their experiences and stuff.
And they also have disabled like group sessions, so whatever, like you just meet other disabled students and talk about your experiences and stuff like that.
I found that a waste of time. I wanted to go home. I went to one. I will never go again.
I never went, and I kind of feel the same way. So I was like,
why? Tell us.
It was like everyone was. It was just not relatable, huh?
As in there were other people. You mean as in there were other people?
Yeah. It was a group thing. It was in like a big room. I think there was like 15, 20 of us. It was just loads of people giving talks. Well, I say loads of people. It was like 2 or 3 people giving talks, and they were such boring talks. And I was saying here like, we are all neurodivergent here.
Yeah, like, don't you get this? Like, this is what we can't, like, do. Why are you doing this to us?
I hated it. And then, like, also everyone was white, and there's an experience that changes across race, because race and culture are very interlinked, right? And it changes how neurodivergence looks. And I felt like I couldn't relate to the people in there either.
I mean, that explains a lot, doesn't it? Like, it doesn't surprise me, because I would think that people of color would be, it would be difficult for them to sort of like, be like, oh, I'm gonna go to the DDSS and like get myself these like seek help, basically. I think I definitely, for international students, I can definitely talk on behalf of Indian students. If you see an Indian student there, they must be like, it would be a surprise, because back home we don't have any such things, like, within universities which would, provide these sort of services or even talk about them. I never ever knew about ADHD or any other sort of mental disabilities. When I was in college, I only got to know in my very elite like feminist circles.
Same.
And I think, I don't think it's as approachable as they at least pretend to be, if that makes sense.
I think the one thing I really liked about my specialist mentor is she actually asked me at the very, very beginning, like our first session, she was like, as you can see, I'm white, and you are not. Like, you're a person, like, would you prefer to have somebody who is of the same race as you or whatever? But I don't even think that is possible in this university, if I'm honest. I think there's only like 2 or 3 of these mentors. But I think the acknowledgement of it helped me in some way.
At least you knew that she's aware of it, and that it would manifest differently in your experience. I think that's important. Just like, you know that she's not just like putting it under the table or anything.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I think there is also an age thing that is happening both in the DDSS and in the circles, but also in the health service of the university. I think because they're used to dealing with students that are undergrads, because that's the majority of people that you get. And it's different. It's a really different life experience for you to be 20 or like 28 or 30 or 35 or 40 or whatever, right? You're at a different stage of your life. And because you have matured, like whatever your disability is, especially like things like ADHD, they manifest differently. So I think they don't always get like the fine line intricacies of it, but also I also felt many times like I was infantilized.
Yes, so
especially at the doctor. Like they thought that, oh my god, she's just like a 20-year-old that is like whatever, she doesn't want to do her exams, so she's trying to get like a leave of absence. That I kind of got this response, not like blatantly, but like more like they were treating me like that, and I had to be like, look, I'm 29 years old. I'm like doing a PhD. I have completely my own schedule. This is something that I decide that I need. Like, please pay attention to me and don't like minimize my pain because you think I'm trying to get out of exams or something. And I think it's the same thing if you go to a room like a group session with a lot of people that have ADHD and it's a bunch of 20-year-olds and you'll be like, okay, this is completely different. Like, it's not relevant to you because they have different problems with their studies that you have, like within the university. This is a different set of issues because of what they are doing and what you're doing. Yeah,
and I think it goes into the infantilization episode because some of that, I'm still wondering if I should talk about. I've had a very interesting experience, let's put it like that integrates both my ADHD and my PhD student status, and that whole infantilization thing. Maybe in the next episode we'll see.
We've been talking for an hour and a half, so...
Oh, okay. Let's stop talking.
Yeah, no, I mean, we can just slowly wrap up. But yeah, I think that if you think that something that you have, like a medical condition, and that might be a mental health issue, a physical issue, an issue that has to do with your neurons or whatever the hell, if you think that it affects your everyday life and your life as a PhD and your research and the way that you deal with it, and also you feel like people don't understand it or understands how it affects you and you could get support, you should get all the support you can get.
Yes.
Like that's my thing. Like, it doesn't matter if support exists in any way or form, just find out what and how and go get it, because you're not losing anything, right? If they want to give you software, if they want to give you money, if they want to give you taxi fares, you have nothing to lose if you get it. And also it's sort of they're legally binding that you have a disability and they have to help you, like they're obligated to help you. So I think that would be my thing. And I mean, this is an issue that we are all going through, but it's like, yeah, you don't really need to consider yourself disabled fully or whatever. Like, you're worth it, you deserve it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that if you get it, someone else will not get it.
I think especially if you're like us and you feel uncomfortable with identifying with the term disability, you have to think about it contextually. If whatever is going on with you in your life, your body, or whatever, if it's impacting the way you do your PhD, would you say it disables you from doing your PhD? Therefore, should you inquire about it being a thing that you look at? And even if you don't want to go the like medical route, because there's also that whole like medicalization of a thing, it's very annoying. Yeah. If you don't want to go that, what are the other ways, I guess, in which you can find that support? Because it could be just from family and friends, from, supervisors.
Or just even yourself acknowledging it and being like, yeah, this is not my fault. This is something that is happening to me, right? And I need to find ways to deal with it even within your personal life.
And if like in the UK, for instance, you do have like a neurodivergent condition, and you're undiagnosed and you really want to be diagnosed or whatever, the wait list is like 4 years in a lot of places. So that is the whole PhD gone. So it makes more sense to just like, I guess, look at other things as well. I did a lot of looking at TikTok videos. I'm moving house soon, and I literally typed in moving house ADHD because I know how moving house is for me. It's a very traumatic
You
experience.
told me that you're gonna come and get some boxes.
Oh, yeah.
My husband has removed those boxes from the eaves and has put them in the living room. And every day he asks me, "Is Marisa coming for those boxes, or should I put them back?" And I'm like, "Okay, I'll ask her." And then I never ask you.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It doesn't matter.
Every time I tell myself I should go to Laura's house and get the boxes, and it just pisses me off. Like, and then I just don't do it. I will do it.
It's okay.
Very
It's
soon.
fine. Yeah.
I'll do it this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think in general, get help. If someone is willing to give you help, get it.
Yes.
Like, just take it, all of it.
Final thoughts, Pragya?
I can only probably provide a perspective from someone who has people around who have kinds of disabilities, and I think what we can do is definitely sort of advocate for things around us which disable people. I see that all the time in the building that the sociology department is in Sheffield is quite anti-disability, and
That was
Guys,
a good segment.
hello listeners. As you can hear, we're having technical difficulties, so we're gonna wrap this up here and say
Yeah.
goodbye. I will keep that last snippet
Yes,
that Pragya
please.
said in.
Yeah, just care is very important.
Yes.
head and do that. It sounds so. Sorry, I don't want to say anything anymore because the network keeps.
Pragya,
Babes,
just
can
say
you
goodbye.
hear us?
Just say goodbye. If you can hear us, say goodbye.
Okay, bye, bitches.
So we will be leaving you now. Thank you for joining us on this long episode about disability.
Yeah, and don't feel sorry for us, please. We don't want your pity.
Yeah. Oh
Like-
yeah, don't feel
Oh
sorry
my-
for me. Are you crazy?
No. But yeah, take care of yourselves and of other people and spread love and care all around you. I don't know, that sounded so cheesy.
Be
Yes,
kind.
be kind.
And Pragya, say goodbye. Goodbye.
Please don't edit this out. It's hilarious. Pragya, say goodbye. Okay. Goodbye from Pragya.
Goodbye on Pragya's behalf.
Bye, bitches. Love you.